Hello, everyone. Good evening. On behalf of IIIT Bangalore's Innovation Center and our partners, I would like to welcome each one of you for taking time out on a weekday to attend Entrepreneurship Bootcamp. This shows the kind of passion and eagerness that each one of you have towards creating your own venture. Before we start, just a quick set of rules. I know all of you have a lot of questions for the speaker, Mr. Madan, today. So please post your questions on the chat window or on the Q&A tab. So as and when Mr. Madan takes a break or wants to pick up these questions in between the sessions, he will be able to do that. So all your questions, please feel free to post all your questions to us today on the chat window. Okay. And towards the end, Mr. Madan and the speakers and all the other panelists will pick up these questions and try to give you as much clarity and as much information that you guys need to succeed in your ventures. Keeping that short, I would like to invite Mr. Karthik Kittu, the Chief Innovation Officer at IIIT Bangalore, to take over and speak a few words. Over to you, Mr. Karthik.
Thank you, Yogeshwaran, and very warm good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining in, and special welcome to our keynote speaker, Mr. Madan Padaki, whom I will introduce later. Glad that you accepted our invitation. Thank you. And also our Dean R&D, Professor Chandrasekhar, thanks for joining in. Our CEO of the Innovation Center, Mr. Y.S. Narayan, welcome. Dr. Milian Gande, the Chief Program Officer of the Machine Robotics and Intelligence Center, Kalpana, Program Officer of the Machine Intelligence and Robotics Center, and also Jai Krishna from Startup Karnataka. Thank you all for joining in, and all our students, welcome. Friends, students, as we know, the raging coronavirus pandemic over the last 1 year has deeply impacted most of our lives and many millions of livelihoods. And one of the biggest ways, or one of the ways to solve this, is turning entrepreneur and giving jobs. During this, many of you might have worked from home, graduated from home, or are graduating from home. And with the increased vaccination and the COVID appropriate behavior, I think it just few days or few months away from maybe getting back to something that is semi-normal. And to support entrepreneurs like all of you, or budding entrepreneurs, we have come up with the specialized aspiring entrepreneurs boot camps, wherein we have many speakers from academia, from government, international speakers, and also entrepreneurs to handhold you on the various facets. Every business, big or small, face a unique set of challenges. And these are compounded by various factors, and these include limited visibility into the future. So maybe, to wade through all this and to look at something like the financing, the compliance requirements, building and upgrading competencies, or managing the expectations is what we have come up with this special bootcamp. And on that note, to say a few words, may I now invite the CEO of IIITB Innovation Center, Mr. Y.S. Narayan.
Thank you, Karthik. Thanks for that warm introduction. And yes, it's great to be here. So good afternoon or good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. A quick introduction. So my name is Narayan, and more popularly known in professional circles by my initials as YSN, like the erstwhile AP CM who was YSR. So I'm YSN out here. So basically, I come from a very different world altogether, from the world of ABC, as they call it, advertising, branding, and corporate communications. I joined IIITB about a year back, and about 3 to 4 months back, I have taken over also as the head of the Innovation Center. It's very exciting, and I look forward to learning a lot and building upon it. So to start with, let me welcome you all to the Startup Bootcamp organized by the IIITB Innovation Center. We were very surprised and delighted that we received over 500 registrations for this program. And we really thank you all for your interest and participation. As Karthik said, I think today, if we are really looking at the situation outside, we know that it has not been good for the world of business and entrepreneurship, which has been very badly impacted due to the pandemic. The situation is very painful, and I know it has driven many of us to despair. So, what we did at the Innovation Center was to actually look at this as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves and to be more closely aligned to the needs of the startup community. As we are talking for the last couple of months, in fact, we have been in the process of reimagining the IIITB Innovation Center to be more relevant to you. And we will be happy to share more details of this shortly with you all. As for this bootcamp, we have carefully crafted and curated the content with the objective of helping you gain some great insights into entrepreneurial skills and techniques that are required for your success. Over a period of the next 4 weeks and over 22 sessions, you will have the time to digest what you learn and either immediately apply these insights to your existing business or gain the support you need to design, launch, and grow your new venture. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Milind and Kalpana from our Mindro Center of Excellence for being our pitch deck competition partner, and IIITB Bangalore for being our ecosystem partner. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate your support. We do hope you will find this program to be interesting and useful. So sit back and participate as much as possible. I look forward to be interacting with you all over the next 1 month. Thank you once again. Over to you, Karthik.
Thank you, YSN, sir, for those wonderful words. And as he was telling, IIITB Bangalore is our ecosystem partner, and also Mindro. Mindro stands for Machine Intelligence and Robotics Center, and it's one of the 5 centers of excellence in Karnataka, primarily for machine intelligence and robotics involved in fundamental research, addressing problems in the Indian context in a collaborative, multidisciplinary environment. And of course, we also have the principal investigator and our Dean Research and Development, Dr. Chandrasekhar here. Thank you very much, sir, for making time off. He was in quite a few government meetings today, but we really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us. And over to you, sir, for your inaugural address and opening remarks.
Thank you, Karthik, for the kind introduction, and very, very good evening to all of you. And I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of our director, Professor S. Sadagopan, and Director Designate Professor Debabrata Das. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this exciting 1-month event on entrepreneurship and the bootcamp, associated bootcamp here. No, I didn't want to stand in between you and a great speaker who is there with us, Mr. Madan. So I just wanted to share my just a couple of thoughts on the importance of nurturing the innovation activities within an education context. And so I think that kind of also will tell you the spirit of an institution like IIITB, wherein we always tell that there are the 3 pillars of any education institution are that there has to be education that's happening there, which is quite natural. And then, of course, research must be happening. But then the third important aspect of an education institution is the innovation that comes along with it, right? So because it is the culmination of all these 3 is what will lead to creation of highly impactful products and solutions. So, which is why I'm very thrilled and excited to see that many of our own students are part of the participants here, and of course there are a lot of alumni who have actually gone on to start up their own ventures. So I think I would like to believe that an education institution is probably a great place to see the culmination of all these 3 things happening. So on that note, I think so this is just our own small effort to contribute towards the third pillar, which is the with the innovation part of it, right? In fact, many people keep asking me, right? So, what is the difference between research and innovation? And is research a prerequisite for doing innovation, right? Or does research is it the outcome of innovation, right? So these are. I mean, we can have a lot of interesting wordplay around it, but the way I look at it is, so research is something, innovation is something, and is any novel way to solve an existing problem. So, and of course, it could be making use of lots of existing available solutions, and of course, it can also create something brand new based on the outcome of a deep research that has happened. So I'm sure you will hear all different flavors of innovations that can give rise to very interesting, very impactful products and solutions. Okay, so on that note, I once again extend a very warm welcome to all of you, and I have a very productive 30 days of learning and experience. I think more importantly, the experience is also very valuable element of this of a boot camp like this. So I'm sure all of you will enjoy, and do share your feedback with us, because this is the second time that we are doing. So we are already trying to make improvements over our first offering. And at the end of the once the boot camp is over, definitely I would like to hear from all of you as to if you have any suggestions for improving. But I think we should now leave the floor to our esteemed speakers. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Over to you,
Professor
Karthik.
Chandrasekhar. Sorry, I stand corrected. Our teen academics. Thank you very much for those words, and for the inspiration to the students. Of course, our incubator, like Sir said, is an academic incubator, and it matches quality seeds with the best soil for a bountiful income, like he likes to put it. We incubate disruptive ideas with the aim of building a great business model and companies. And very simple, it is from idea stage, innovation process that can involve brainstorming ideas from idea stage to prototype, and from prototype to MVP. I mean, 0 to 1, it is very difficult. So we try to get you from 0 to 0.9, and the rest 0.1 is your effort. On that note, now it's time, I think, to hear from our keynote speaker, Madan Padaki. A small brief about our keynote speaker. Madan Padaki is an Indian entrepreneur and business executive, and he holds an undergraduate degree in engineering from the famous National Institute of Engineering, University of Mysore, and an MBA from SP Jain Research. He serves as a senior advisor to the Tata Trust, and serves currently as the president of TiE Bangalore and the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce in Karnataka, and also serves on the governing council of the Department of Electronics and Accreditation of Computer Classes, an organization under the Ministry of IT to evaluate IT education in India. He also is the co-founder and director of Sylvant Advisors in the field of education management, and the managing trustee of Headeld High Services, a social enterprise for rural youth. And also is the co-founder and managing trustee. In this capacity, he is focused on enabling the organizational mission of supporting and empowering marginalized youth and communities. He is also the founder of One Bridge, a village commerce network that delivers digital services and products, bringing access, choice, and convenient gaps for rural consumers. He is also co-founder of the Global Alliance of Mass Entrepreneurship GAME, an alliance that catalyzes all stakeholders to collaborate towards igniting a mass entrepreneurship movement. He also currently serves as a strategy advisor to UNICEF India for the Yuva initiative. A serial entrepreneur, Madan was co-founder of Meritrack, India's first skills assessment company that was acquired by Manipal Education. I'm sure our director, Professor Sargopan, has very fond memories of working with you during his older stint in the Indian Institute of Management, which he always keeps remembering and talking about, that you are an example to many entrepreneurs. His current areas of interest lies at the intersection of transforming youth, enabling entrepreneurial journeys, on empowering social change makers. And I also, for a fact, know that he's on the Prime Minister's Council for Entrepreneurship. He was one of the chosen 35 who was invited personally by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to be there at Delhi to brainstorm for India. And apart from it, I think many other cultural initiatives that he is part of. All of them who are here today, I think you're very fortunate that you are going to listen to Madan. Very inspiring, and he's come from the grassroots. And one more thing, so what I share in common with him is he also was part of the youth wing of Rotary very many years ago as a Rotaractor, and I met him I think 20 years ago, and from then on he's been guiding and looking at things and showing the path to many people. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and over to you, Madan.
Hey, thank you, Karthik, for those kind words of introduction. I appreciate it. I must say that my entrepreneurial journey, I have a huge special place in my heart for IIIT Bangalore and Professor Sadgopan. In fact, way back in the early days of Meritrack, I can still remember how supportive Professor and the entire team was of startups, where they invited us and said, hey, you have to take the IIITB exam online. And one of the first few entrance exams in the country that went online. I still remember working with Professor Chandrasekhar and the team and Professor Das in making that happen. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to IIITB and Professor Sadgopan for always being there for us. So thank you so much. And it's only appropriate that you're doing this boot camp for entrepreneurs. It is really in the DNA of IIIT Bangalore to really spur entrepreneurship. So delighted to be a part. And I'm very happy to participate in this process today as a keynote, but also glad to have TIE Bangalore as a partner as well. And the mission of TIE Bangalore and my personal mission is to see India create as many entrepreneurs as it can, who can create jobs locally and start making a difference. So that's the brief context as a background. I have a couple of questions to get you started out with. The first thing that I want to ask, as you put in your chat box, is obviously a lot of you are here because you are interested in that startup thingy. Sorry, there is some background. Working from home has its own set of perils and pleasures. So we have a bunch of kids at home, and this afternoon is particularly noisy. So my apologies for that.
Just before you continue, I would also like to recognize the presence of our deans, Dean R&D, Professor Srinivasa has joined us, and our Dean faculty, Professor Jyotsna Bapat. Thank you very much for joining us in and being there.
Good afternoon, Madan. I hope you remember me from the NIE days, and good to see you here. So congratulations to the Innovation Center for this very special event. Madan, by the way, was part of NIE. I don't know if I think you were part of Venkat Raghavan and others group. We had also met during the NIE academic council, and so it gives me double the pleasure actually. So to also see someone from my alma mater also doing so successful and mentoring the startups here. So let me not take up any more of screen time, and let me also sit and listen as much as and learn as much as I can. So over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Jyotsna, thank you for joining in. And
thank you, Karthik.
Pleasure. Sorry, back to you, Madan.
Excellent. No, thank you for that. Thank you for that break. And Shreya, lovely to see you again. And kudos on this wonderful initiative. So as I was, just to pick it up back from that. So as I'm speaking, one of the things I'd love to get all of you to share in the chat box, if you can, is just put in a single line thought on why do you want to be an entrepreneur, right? Obviously, you are here today. You're going to spend the next 4 weeks attending 22 sessions. There is obviously something that is motivating you to put this effort. And being here and putting this effort itself is a great start. As they say, the first step taken is half the journey done. So you have an intent. You come here and saying, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm seeing some responses come, to make a better society, to build something, to create an impact, to make a better society coming up again, to do something of significance. I love what Aditya, you're saying. The best way to predict the future is to create it, to create jobs, to be different. Obviously, you need to make money to create jobs. Terrific. I think, it's wonderful to see these responses come in such a positive way, to be more than a cog in the wheel and to create something. I believe that the word entrepreneur, and it's a definition. My definition of the entrepreneur is antar prerana, that to be an entrepreneur, you need to have inner motivation. To me, that is the most important part that I've learned over the last 20 years, that if you're driven by an external need, that I don't want to work under my boss, so therefore I want to be an entrepreneur, or I don't want to, I hate my job and therefore I will try something else, are all okay, valid reasons. But the ones that I'm seeing on the chat, which are very powerful, is that if you're driven by an inner purpose, by an inner motivation to say, I want to see a better world around me, and I'm going to bring my energies and my abilities to solve that world problems, or whatever it is. It could be green energy, like some of you have mentioned, agriculture, healthcare, education. The beauty of the world we live in, as I say, that every problem is an opportunity in disguise. Right. So one way is to look at it and say, we have so many problems. The entrepreneur in me looks at it and says, wow, there are so many opportunities to make a difference, to solve. So I began my journey. So the next 15, 20 minutes, I will share a few learnings that I've had, but I would love to keep the interactions. I see a lot of questions coming in. So I'll probably share some learnings and some thoughts of mine for the last 20 years as an entrepreneur, and then open it up for Q&A. In the meanwhile, if there's any question at all, or you have in your mind, please feel free to put it in the question answer box, and we'll definitely take it up. Like several of you, I'm speaking of the year 99. Several of you may not have been born by then. I had completed my engineering, as Professor Srinath was saying, an alumni of NIE. I had the fortune of working with Wipro and getting inspired by Mr. Azim Premji, seeing him in action in a few of the meetings. And I had a chance to work in Infosys in the team that was led by Nandan Nilekani, and got again inspired by seeing them and the entire team at Infosys behave and build one of India's best known IT companies. So when I went to do my MBA at SP Jain, I was already in my mind thinking, I have to do something. And by the way, I don't think even I knew the entrepreneur word was not used that often as it is used now, right? And I don't think I'm not even conscious when I got to know the spelling of the word entrepreneur as well. Even now I struggle with the NEUR and NUER spelling issues. Right? But something in me kept triggering me, saying that you have to do something. And I, post MBA, went to work for BFL Software, now Emphasis. I was heading their offices in Japan, which was as entrepreneurial as it could get, except that you had a head office which would send you money, but you had to find your own customers, figure out how to sell, generate business leads in a difficult market, and get it delivered, executed by the team back in India. But 2000, when I came back to Bangalore on a trip with a customer, I was blown at the kind of entrepreneurial energy that had come in Bangalore in the last 1.5 years then, right? So everybody I knew was starting a business, was writing a business plan, had got funded, had done a startup. And the first 1 week, I was like overwhelmed. Every friend I said, oh, I'm trying to work in a startup, I'm doing this. And Japan was extremely the other side, right? Very, very corporate, company-driven culture. somehow the Kida came into me saying, yeah, if all my friends are doing this, why can't I do this? What should I do? And I had no clue what to do. So I started going around asking friends, saying, do you have any idea? What should I be doing? Got a lot of ideas saying, oh, start a software company and, start a services entity. BPO was just about taking off. Somebody said, why don't you run a call center? Nothing really appealed or did not intellectually, create that urgency in me. A friend of mine I met in one of those conversations actually told me about a software company that had given him a project to build a question bank management software. So I remember asking him, why is this company wanting you to do question bank management software, right? And what is it? So this guy told me that they're hiring a lot of people. They do tests on campuses. And when they do tests, they have about 30, 40 questions in the paper. They want to track which questions are being used in which paper. Because they're running so many tests, they want to be sure that they're not repeating the same questions. I said, that looks like a very small problem to solve, right? And I was not excited by it. A couple of days later, I happened to read an article in one of the newspapers in Bangalore saying the IT industry, way back in 2000, the IT industry was less than 100,000 people. It's now about 3 million odd people if you take the IT and the BPO sector put together. The article said, Indian IT industry will grow from 100,000 people to a 1 million people industry by 2010, which looked like a huge number. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, maybe that's why they need the question bank management software, right? They need to hire so many people, and they obviously need better, selection criteria. A few days later, I happened to meet another old friend from Infosys, an HR manager who was conducting a walk-in for Infosys, and I happened to pass by that walk-in venue, went in, met this guy, and he was running around very hassled. Some 300 people had turned up for the test. He had to conduct the test, score the results, shortlist people, then interview them and make offers all on the same day. And he was telling me, listen, for 300 people who show up, we can only select 30 people because they're the ones who are employable. As I walked out of that venue, that's when the light bulb flashed. I was saying, oh my God, that is the problem, right? If for every one person you hire, you have to screen 10 people, then if 1 million people have to get hired, then somebody has got to assess 10 million people or test 10 million people, which means 10 million tests have to be administered, scoring, interviews, shortlisting, the whole 9 yards. And that looked like a huge business opportunity, right? I ran home, bumped into my classmate on the way. My project mate called him up and said, hey, we have an idea. There was another chap from IIM Lucknow called Burli. And when I explained the idea, 3 of us got super excited and said, oh, this looks like a big problem to solve. The fact is, none of us knew anything about testing. I was selling software in Japan. Mohan Kanegal was coding in London. Subsequently, he was in Chennai and Bangalore. And then Murli was selling floor cleaning solutions for 3M. But we said, hey, we got an idea. Let's write a business plan. Spoke to a few people, found out what a business plan formatted, and sat down one weekend and wrote down some 30 odd pages of what all we will do, right? And we said, okay, we have a business plan. And that's how was born Merittrack as India's first skills assessments entity, right? Long story short, we went and pitched to many VCs. Hardly many VCs were there, but a few VCs in those early days. Everybody rejected us, threw us out, saying, oh, what do you understand about testing? You don't have any domain knowledge. You're just youngsters trying to figure something out, and I don't know whether you'll make it. Finally found a believer in the form of an agriculturist from Shimoga, which is a town in North Karnataka, and who said, I'm willing to invest in you. And he was our first angel investor. And that's how Merittrack got started. Lots of ups and downs in the journey. Almost shut down twice post 9/11, 2001. Business stopped. We had literally a few lakhs in the bank, and we had about 15 employees, and we didn't know what to do. We were literally on the verge of a shutdown. Managed to ride it out. 2005, we got invested by HSBC Private Equity. We were one of the first tech guys to raise capital in India. And 2007, we got Manipal Education, which was also looking to expand its offerings in the edtech space. It got interested in us. Manipal came on board as a strategic investor. And 2011, Manipal acquired Meritrack as a fully owned subsidiary. And some of us, all of us as investors, co-founders, got an exit. And happy to share that Meritrack continues after 2 decades as a fully owned subsidiary of Manipal. And our dream of conducting 10 million tests, we crossed in 2010. And today, Meritrack has conducted over about 40-50 million assessments globally. It's probably one of the top 10 assessment companies in the world. And I moved out in 2013 from Manipal as head of strategy and innovation. And began my journey, several of you have said, on the social impact side. As Karthik was saying, I got fascinated and found that entrepreneur in the potential of young people, all of you, and several others who dropped out of school. So co-founded a non-profit called Head and High Foundation, where we train and transform zero educated, illiterate village youth from rural backgrounds. And in 6 months' time, we were able to transform them to be English-speaking, computer-literate knowledge professionals. Several of them have gone on to become entrepreneurs in their own villages. I run a rural enterprise called OneBridge, which looks at creating entrepreneurs in the villages using a digital technology platform. So we are operating in about 7,000 villages in the southern parts of India. And we have village-level entrepreneurs who provide a variety of digital services to village consumers and therefore earn incomes. I also realized that we need a lot more entrepreneurs in the country. I'll come to that in a bit. And co-founded an alliance called the Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship. How do you inspire every small business to grow and to create more jobs? And lastly, I work with UNICEF Yuva as an initiative with an objective to create youth as change makers and therefore problem solvers and entrepreneurs. We want to create 100 million inspired youth who can take on entrepreneurship and economic opportunities as pathways in the next 10 years. So my life is all about the intersection of young people, entrepreneurship, and social impact, which is brilliant to see a lot of resonance of these. My lessons over the last, before I take up any questions, I know I've been, it's about 10, 15 minutes. In all my journey, at a broad level, I keep getting asked this question. Why do you think all youth should be entrepreneurs? And I'll make two distinctions for you. Does everyone need to be an entrepreneur? Probably no, right? But does everybody need to think entrepreneurially? The answer is a big yes. So for all of you who are attending this session and these sessions over the next 4 weeks, what you're going to pick up is entrepreneurial thinking, which I believe is a critical skill for you to succeed now and in the future. Entrepreneurial thinking is a variety of things, right? Your ability to dream, your ability to think of the bigger picture, to get it into execution, to kind of convince people to see your point of view, to make things happen, right? Karthik was talking about my stint at Rotrack, and we were all in together. I still remember as the president of Rotrack Club of JP Nagar, you had to do all of this, right? And in hindsight, I think that was the most entrepreneurial, experience that I could get as a student. But that is right, because as a club, you need to figure out what is the positioning of your club, how many members you need, how do you convince members, how do you build teams, how do you execute programs, how do you keep the teams together? It's all there, right? So I think that entrepreneurial thinking is a critical skill set. So please, do not be swayed by some people who say, oh, you don't want to be an entrepreneur. There are many jobs out there. Absolutely. But I will argue that entrepreneurial thinking is critical in all jobs out there, right? That's one. Two, does India need more entrepreneurs? I think by the millions. Because for the number of young people that we have, a lot of you might have heard this term demographic dividend, that India is producing almost about 1 million young people entering the workforce on a monthly basis. It's already begun a few years ago. It will continue for the next 7-8 years. India will produce about 150 million young people with unlimited potential like you have. And their is absolutely no way that the country can create 150 million jobs. At best, with economic growth being projected in the 8-10%, etc., maybe we'll end up creating 30-40 million jobs. What happens to the remaining 110 million? Right? Where are the jobs? And my belief is that if we don't create another 20-25 million entrepreneurs like you who can go on to create 5-10 jobs at least in every nook and corner of the country, the other 150, 100, 120 million people will not have a sustainable economic opportunity. So especially the creme de la creme, which is us on this group, coming from educated backgrounds, prestigious institutions like IIITB, if each of us and each of you don't go out there and create 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 jobs, I think it's a shame, right? So two ways of looking at it: make sure that you have the entrepreneurial thinking in place, and given from where we are coming from, embrace being an entrepreneur. And the objective, as several of you so eloquently put up on the chat box, the objective of being an entrepreneur is to make a difference in the world out there, to create jobs, to of course make money, to reward investors, to create better world for your employees, all the good things that come with it. And I'm privileged to have to have been given an opportunity to do this journey over the last 20 years, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. If some genie came to me in 99 and said, Madan, choose whether you want to be an entrepreneur and go with all the hardships that come along with it, or you want a safe, stable job that will give you 50,000 rupees inflation indexed for the rest of your life, pick what you would choose. I will always choose that I want to be an entrepreneur, because the learnings, the networks, the fun of doing things is what drives me. Lastly, what are my lessons from being an entrepreneur? I'll just put 4 or 5 mantras. It is again very inner motivation driven, entrepreneur. One is never stop dreaming, dream big, right? Always ask the question, why not? Why can't we have a world without poverty? Why not? Right? People will say, no, it's not possible. Why not? Right? Let's dream big. Secondly, once you start identifying yourself with a purpose, you believe in it. One of my favorite all-time movies is, I'm sure a lot of you would have watched it. If not, I will put that to you as a weekend watching exercise. Please watch Kung Fu Panda, one of my favorite all-time movies. When my son was a few years old, that became his favorite movie. I must have watched that movie some 50 times or something, feeding him lunch, breakfast, dinner. But every time I watched the movie, I discovered a new facet of saying, this is exactly the story of an entrepreneur, right? How did a panda end up becoming the dragon warrior? Is the story of our lives. Many of us feel, no, I can't be an entrepreneur, but it all starts with the belief, right? So if you can believe it, you can make it happen, right? How do you believe in the purpose and how do you believe in yourself? Third, no entrepreneur has ever succeeded by just thinking of ideas and saying, I have a great idea. Ideas, to my mind, is not even worth the paper it is written on if you don't execute it. So hustle, get to action, right? Go meet people, figure out, hey, I have this idea. How do I make it happen? Can you move an inch every day is great progress, right? So bias for action, hustle, get things done, right? Fourth, be shameless. Ask people anything and everything. It doesn't matter. Ask for help. Right? And here is where networks like IIIT Bangalore, TIE Bangalore all come into play, because we are all eager to help, right? And there are enough number of people out there who are willing to help if you make the right ask. The other one is be fearless. A lot of us fear failures. Unfortunately, our education system right from day one has always been geared towards, don't give me the wrong answer. If I ask you the question, give me the right answer, right? In entrepreneurship, there's nothing called as the right answer or the wrong answer. In fact, there's nothing called as the question itself. Maybe the question itself is wrong or right. So try it out, experiment. If you fail, great. Embrace failures, learn from it, move on to the next one. It doesn't matter. And lastly, never, 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 ever give up. If there is something that you truly believe with all your heart, keep that belief in and never stop trying, right? In some form or the other, success is bound to happen, right? So these are some of the lessons I've learned the hard way. Especially in this day and age with so many networks, so many incubator models, so many inspiring people around you, I think the environment and the ecosystem is extremely ripe for each of you to attempt whatever you're willing to do and want to become, super successful entrepreneurs who can make a lasting impact on the society around you, create jobs and create wealth for everybody. So just go on and do it. Let me stop here. I'm happy to, I know this is a month long. I'll work with Karthik to try and get, if there's any which way that I can be of help on your journeys along these 4 weeks and subsequently as well. But let me just pause and take a few questions.
Yes. Thank you very much, Madan. Of course, just before we get to the questions, the words echo in my ear, be shameless. And the networking part, I remember, once being to Israel on a cybersecurity mission and wanting to meet the chairman of Checkpoint. I was just stopped by the security, but I just, like you said, just ran around and I said, hey, I've come from India and I want to talk to you. So that's when I met, him amidst the Z Plus security in Israel. And you know how famous they are for that. I just remember the words that echo in my ear. And once I was in the US and I was, like you said, invited to the White House. I mean, I wanted a picture there with the flag of the President of the United States. And it was, under security. Like you said, asking doesn't cost anything. You are there. Otherwise, you don't get it for a lifetime. Correct. So what you've thought when we are even in our younger days, echo. And I believe entrepreneurship is relentless, positive optimism. And you cannot give up on, it. It definitely rings in our ears on that note. Thank you very much. And may I also request Yogeshwaran. Yogeshwaran is from Let's Grad, our partner who has also helped us put together this fabulous students for the bootcamp. I would like to place on special record the contribution of Mr. Yogeshwaran. Thank you so much for being around and helping us,
Thank you, Mr. Karthik. It's always been a pleasure to work with IIIT on these boot camps, right? Especially supporting these kids to pick up entrepreneurship as a career opportunity is fabulous. Great work by all of you at IIIT Bangalore for sure.
Thank you very much. And I think we could proceed with some of the questions. So anyone has any questions, please type it into the Q&A box.
Actually, there are quite a few questions.
Whatever you want to pick up.
So let me pick a few that catch my eye. I know that we don't have enough time to take all questions, and as I said, this is the beginning of several conversations, right? So there are a lot of questions around how to get viable ideas. Whom should I go to discuss my idea? Will I trust them? Not trust them? How will they? Will they execute it for me? Will we be taught about how to find business opportunities? Will we learn about the use of data analysis and conducting market research, right? Any guidance on experience on motivating oneself when you feel a bit low on entrepreneurial journey? Let me bunch all of that and take it as one large question to start with, right? First of all, I don't think, unless you're Einstein, you cannot sit, close your eyes and design what an idea looks like, right? Einstein was a genius who imagined what cosmology looks like, right? And he was able to generate those hypotheses and postulates from his imagination. Imagination is super critical, but imagination will only get you so far. As an entrepreneur, you got to go out and meet people. If I were to just take my experience at Meritrack, the idea of Meritrack came because I must have met some 20, 30 people, listened deeply, put your own filters on it, and said, yes, this is the idea to believe in, right? So my ask to you is, you never know where an idea comes from, right? I'm sure my friend Fanindra Sama, who founded around the same time a company called Red Bus, which went on to become India's largest and the first bus ticket booking system, found the idea due to a personal issue. He was trying to go home for Deepavali, realized he was not able to find bus tickets. It was extremely hard to go from one operator to another. And this is the early days of internet. He says, why can't internet solve this? And that's how Redbus was born. So especially in times like this, of course, you are limited by mobility, but I'm sure over the next 4 weeks with 150 of you exchanging ideas, this is an extremely rich ecosystem and a group of peers that you can bounce off ideas with, right? So keep your eyes open, keep your ears open and listen and look at ideas that you believe in, that strikes a chord with you, right? I also don't believe about unless and until you're working on something which is totally IPable. I don't think ideas per se alone can be, a lot of people think if you share the idea, somebody will steal it. It's okay as long as you can execute it better. Because finally, an entrepreneur's success depends on who can execute the idea faster, better, cheaper, right? So if you can believe in that execution and not just that idea, it doesn't matter. Somebody else may execute it badly. You might execute it very differently. Finally, the winning is all about execution, right? And your ability to listen on a continuous basis and keep morphing the idea as you go along, right? Just to give you an example, OneBridge, the rural enterprise that I run, I've been at it now 7 years. Formally, we started 5 years ago. If I look at my business model and business plan, I must be on my 45th version now. Every month, every 2 months, some new idea comes and you realize that, okay, this is how I can fine tune it. This is how I can change it. This is how I can do it better. And that's the whole journey, which is the fun part of the process, right? And the last thing I believe is that, every entrepreneur goes through ups and downs, and you lose your belief in yourself. Somebody will tell you, like, OneBridge idea initially must have been rejected by over about 30, 40 people who said, I think this is a waste idea, it won't work. They'll throw some 100 things at you on why it won't work. All you need to believe is in one thing that will work. Don't worry about 100 things that will not work, right? And I think that kind of a belief system comes by having a set of friends around you who are also passionate entrepreneurs, right? If I'm feeling low, I'll speak to Karthik. Karthik will say, why are you feeling low? Yeah, I also feel the same way. Don't worry. Let's get on with life, right? Similarly, a few weeks later, Karthik comes to me, is feeling sad that one project did not work, one idea did not work. I will provide the same thing. So the other opportunity for you is there are 150 plus more people that you will meet. Can you find a group of 10 people who are as passionate as you are? And can you form a peer group? And can you make sure that this group succeeds, right? And it sometimes takes just a gesture. The reason why I'm so beholden to TIE, and I'll just share a personal story, is I mentioned that in 2002, early 2002, late 2001, I was at the verge of shutting down Meritrack. And I happened to go to one of these networking events by TIE. And sitting next to me was an elderly guy who later on I found out Discover had started a large BPO. And he looked at me and said, why are you looking so sad? I was just waiting for somebody to ask me that question, and I burst out almost crying, saying, no, I started this company. We have a lot of problems. Money is not there. Customers are not there. Investors is gone. And I think I have to shut down the company tomorrow. He said, hang on, tell me about your idea. So I told him about the idea of Meritrack. He said, that looks like a great idea. All he did was put a hand around my shoulder and said, guys, don't give up, man. I think you're onto something good. Just hang on. That 1 minute was enough for me to get that confidence back in myself, right? So you'll find a lot of mentors, a lot of people who are willing to provide you that support. Take it, right? Someone you were asking, how will I go find a mentor? Again, as Karthik was saying, just go ask for it. You'll find people who are very happy to help you, right? So let me just move on. Karthik, do you see any other questions that catch your eye?
I just saw how to motivate your team to make them committed as you are a founder, as a founder.
I think again it comes from Antarprerana, right? It comes that if you are motivated enough, you can motivate others. If you're convinced enough, you can convince others. If you're not convinced, I don't think people will get convinced so easily. In that process, you'll have a lot of naysayers, teammates, investors, other advisors will say, no, I don't think this will work. Listen to them, no problem, but find your belief, right? And the team really resonates with your belief, and you resonate with the team's belief.
Definitely. So what if I found that my idea is implemented in the community? So still, can I continue with the same plan or should I change it?
Absolutely. Do you think Reliance Jio, and I'm talking of a large thing, was the first entrant to the mobile space? You had Airtel, Vodafone, and 14 other telcos that came in much before. But what did Jio do? They came and changed the whole market. So it doesn't matter whether an idea is implemented, not implemented. It's your vision of how you want to execute that idea, right? Can you build it in a better consumer experience? So the other thing about idea is keep your focus completely on the customer. Keep asking the question, who's my customer and what problem am I going to solve for him or her? Right? I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who say, what are you building? And they say, oh, I'm building an artificial AI based, blockchain based technology platform that does this. For the first 2 minutes, I don't hear anything about the customer, and I am very wary of those ideas. You have to be easily able to say, for this type of a customer, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. If you stick to that and do it well every day, if you can keep improving, you will succeed. As simple as that.
Sure. And the next one, I think professors wanted to, since we are institution-based incubator, we get many questions from many parents. What's the right time to start? Or, some of them are apprehensive. So what is your thought on that? And when is the right time to start? Immediately after college, after gaining experience, or after retiring? Your thoughts and comments on it.
Good point. I don't think I have a clear answer to that. The right time to start is when you feel like doing it. Okay, you can do it straight out of college. You can say, listen, I want to work. I want to get some experience. I want to put a couple of lakhs in the bank account and I want to start. There are friends of mine who are now past 50, who worked in large corporate careers. I saw one question on saying, should it be only youth or older people? It doesn't matter. All that matters is, can you listen to your heart, right? And go with your gut. Of course, you need the support of your parents. When I started out Meritrack for 2 years, my parents refused to attend any social function. They were tired of asking a question, answering the question, why is your son, who's such a qualified engineer, MBA, worked in Wipro, Infosys, now sitting at home? And they were also tired of answering the question, he also seems to be losing hair every day. Who will marry him? So they stopped attending any social functions, marriage, because I couldn't tell them what I was doing. All I told them was, give me 2 years. If I don't succeed, I will go find a job. Right? And 2 years, they didn't bother me. So you need to, I think it's very important to convince parents and especially, I think, incubators, academic incubators like this can do a lot of parent orientation. Of course, there are risks, right? There's nothing like sitting at home and taking a 1 lakh salary. Parents have to understand that there's a risk, but if you truly believe in it, I'm sure your parents will come around to it.
I totally echo your thoughts, Madan. I mean, I was in the industry before, with Infosys.
I'm sure you're not echoing my thoughts on the hair part, Karthik. You have enough.
Not on that, but on the lighter side, like you said, 2 years after I got married, I jumped into entrepreneurship, and then like the same story, my parents stopped going to any place and they said, what is your son doing? Oh, he's trying to do something in that space. I think totally for those 2 years before my days at IIITB, I used to be an entrepreneur for about 4 years. And yeah, those 4 years I could say, you could learn everything. Like Madan says, I would say when you are an entrepreneur, you are the one who maybe cleans up and later puts on the jacket, wears the tie, sits on the suit, and you sit on the chair, right? You do everything, and it's experience, I think, in itself.
Correct.
So, another very interesting question. I don't know, it's an anonymous question. It says, do we need political support to become an entrepreneur? I love the question, though. But anyway, so your thoughts on it, quickly.
I would say all politicians are some of the most successful entrepreneurs themselves, right? But on a serious note, absolutely no. Political support need not be a precursor for being an entrepreneur. But engaging with the government, to my mind, especially for several of the societal problems that you want to solve, it is very important to engage with the government and the political parties to figure out how you can work together to make a difference. Right? But I don't think any VC has funded anybody because he came with a letter of support from an MP or an MLA.
No, absolutely. I think now many entrepreneurs are closely working with many politicians and others. I mean, to
Right.
do a lot of real-time problem solving, right?
Exactly. So I see an interesting question here. What is the difference between an entrepreneur and the entrepreneurial thinking, Karthik, which I think is a critical one, right? So I want to give it with an example. Okay. Say about, I think 8-10 years ago, I was invited to speak at an MBA college in Indore, right? And this is in 2012, 2011 or 2012, I don't remember. And these colleges had about 200 students. And this is not the IIM Indore. This was a very smaller, lower end college. And when I started talking and asked any questions, all questions was on placements. Sir, nobody comes to our college. No company comes. We don't get hired. The usual stuff. We write to some 100 HR heads and placement officers. Nobody responds. So half an hour was a lot of crib by the students and the faculty. So I stopped and said, listen, imagine if you are the HR head or the placement officer of ICICI Bank, and that was one of the banks. They said that we want them to come to our campus. I said, if you are the placement officer, imagine how many placement brochures do you think a person who's heading ICICI Bank's campus recruitment team will get? Easily some 500, 600 brochures he will get, right? All brochures look the same, say the same thing. So if I have to go to only 30 colleges, how will I pick yours amongst the 600? What is the differentiator? They said, yes, what do we do? I said, let's do something. ATMs were just about coming up then, 2010, 11, especially in tier 3, tier 4 towns, ATMs was improving. So I said, what if 10 of you did a project? You went, stood in front of ICICI Bank ATMs for 1 month, 2 weeks, whatever. Interviewed every person who was coming into that ATM, asking him, why are you coming here? Was it good? What was the experience like, etc., etc. You go stand in front of 5 other competition ATMs, HDFC Bank, SBI, whatever, do the same thing. Compile a report. Send a report to the CEO of ICICI Bank, saying, sir, we 10 students from this college in Indore have done this project. Here is an analysis of what ICICI Bank's ATM's performance versus HDFC Bank versus 5 other competitors. This is our analysis. And I challenge them saying, if you do this in a good way, and any good CEO of any large company will not ignore this report. And he will forward that report to his HR head saying, this kid looks interesting. If I was in this place, I would do the same thing. Right? And then they will come calling on you. 3 months later, I get a call from the placement officer of that office that they did exactly this. And ICICI Bank HR campus team called these guys and said, who are these guys? We want to talk to them. And they hired 2 people. This is what I'm saying is the difference between normal thinking and entrepreneurial thinking. Where these kids entrepreneurial, when they did it, they were absolutely entrepreneurial. What did they do? They said, let me try and present myself in a different way. Let me solve my customer's problem. Who was my customer? I had to get placed in ICICI Bank. So they're my customers. Right? And how will I solve the problem? How will I highlight the problem? What recommendations will I give? That is the difference between being entrepreneurial and being an entrepreneur. I'm sure we understand what entrepreneur is, but how can you bring your thinking in an entrepreneurial way to every life situation that you face, I think makes a hell lot of difference.
Absolutely. And there's another question that came up on the chat. It says, what's the difference between incubators and private investors, and which one should students opt for?
To my mind, it really doesn't matter. Just to give the pedant semantics a bit, incubators are when you, as I think Karthik was saying, that 0 to 0.99, right? You have some broad idea, you know that this is the area I'm interested in. I want to solve a problem in clean energy. I want to solve a problem in healthcare. incubators will help you to define the idea, to create some business plan, business models in place, to create your pitch in place, and to make sure that you know how to articulate your idea. You then take it to an investors, a bunch of angel investors, and excite them to get them to invest in you if you need the money. And an accelerator comes in when you've already gotten started and you want to scale up your business. And that's when the accelerator role really starts. So I'm assuming for a lot of you who are here, who are very interested to solve social problems, to solve, to make the world a better place, you can use an incubator process to fine tune, to identify, define, fine tune, and to capture that idea in a way that makes business sense. Right? I hope that answers the question.
Yes, understandable. Also, say, sir, how can entrepreneurial ventures serve people and be profitable at the same time? A lot of startups fail when they aren't profitable. How can Indian startups counter the influence of companies from the West, USA and Europe?
Beautiful. I love that question. I saw that as well. And I'm hoping that we'll pick that up as one of the last questions. See, a lot of people ask me, what is the difference between an enterprise and a social enterprise? Right? And when I moved out from Meritrack and Manipal to say that I'm running a social enterprise, people ask me, how's life on the other side? And I struggled with that answer for several months. Then I realized maybe we're asking the wrong question. In my mind, just give me a second. In my mind, I don't think the world is divided into enterprises and social enterprises. In my mind, I think the world is divided into enterprises and anti-social enterprises, right? Because I believe that every enterprise has to be social by definition. So if you're not solving a societal problem, not making a difference to the world around you, not creating jobs, you're not an enterprise, right? And you have to do it profitably. So you have to operate at that intersection where you can feel good, do good, and make good money. It's a very hard intersection to find, right? And I think that's where, again, incubators like this will help you to find that intersection. At OneBridge, I've been struggling to find that intersection. How do I serve village consumers with access, choice, and convenience? How do I ensure that entrepreneurs in the village are able to make adequate money? And how do I ensure that large corporates are able to reach the villages in a cost-effective way? And how do I make money at the same time and remain profitable? Is a question that I've been struggling to find the pieces to build this model over the last 5 years. Glad to share that last year we cracked this model. Last financial year, we grew our revenues 2x and we turned EBITDA positive while employing and generating employment for about 10,000 people, right? So it takes time, effort, and a lot of entrepreneurial thinking and energy to solve this problem. But I think it is worth solving for.
So maybe we'll do 2-3 more questions if you're okay.
Sure.
So they say, what's the biggest mistake made by startup entrepreneurs you think should be rectified for better development? Your thoughts on it?
So I'll speak from personal experiences, having dealt with several entrepreneurs across. I think the biggest issue that entrepreneurs face, or the challenges and therefore they lose, is 3 things. One, you lose focus on customers. You start as a CEO or as the founder, you start focusing on everything else other than the customer, is a sure recipe for disaster, right? So not keeping a focus on the customer is one of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make, because it's so easy to get lost. Secondly, not continuously innovating and saying, okay, I think I have a great solution. I think I will kind of monetize it. And before you realize, somebody else has come in with another innovation or tried to do things in a different way and has taken the market. So how do you continuously improve yourself every day? Right? What efforts are you doing to move 1 inch every day, as I said? And the third biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make is to listen more to their ego than to their people. right? Obviously, as entrepreneurs, we all come with this aham that I am the guy, I'll make it happen, which is great. But if that I becomes too big and you lose part of us and we, that I will fail, right? So how does an entrepreneur subsume the ego and work towards the larger cause of the purpose that you're on? A lot of startups that I've seen fail because the partners start fighting, investors and founders start fighting, employee investors, employees and founders don't get along, all because the ego comes into play, right? So how can you stay true to the cause? Keep your eye completely on the. I love the story of Dronacharya and Arjuna. When Arjuna was asked to shoot the eye of the fish, and he was asked, what else do you see? He saw nothing else except the eye of the fish, which is the customer. You can see a lot of investor noises. You can see, oh, that startup competition is doing something else. This incubator, it doesn't matter. If you're serving customers and they're happy with you, just keep your focus on that. Everything else will sort itself out.
Sure. So there's, I think, one more question. One other question. Can anyone do a startup by doing a job at the start? I mean, job plus startup simultaneously? And can I be an entrepreneur working for a different company?
So there are two parts to that question. Yes, you can start off by doing something on the side, but I've never really seen anybody succeed by doing things only on the side, right? So you can start it off like a hobby project, right? Saying, yes, I'm liking, let me try this out. But at some point of time when it gets serious, you have to take a call. I've met several people who say, oh, I'll try and do my job, but I'll work on it on the weekend. I'll work on it on the weeknights. It doesn't work. Unless and until you have a co-founder, etc., it can work for some time. But if you're really serious about it, you have to believe. And the belief can't come by saying, oh, I will continue to do my job, but I believe in this idea. If you believe in this idea, why are you not in it full time? Right? Secondly, I think the entrepreneur as a word that is used is again being commonly used where you can be an entrepreneur inside a company, right? You can use the resources of the company to build a business within the company, absolutely, right? What matters really is an entrepreneurial energy. I saw one more interesting question. Can money motivation also motivate to do a startup? Like with what I want to be a youngest billionaire or a billionaire. Okay. My mind, it is an extrinsic motivation. It is a motivation, nevertheless. I'm not discounting it. But one of the foremost researchers of entrepreneurial thinking in the world, a lady called Professor Saras Saraswati, researched several entrepreneurs and has come out with a set of tenets. You should watch her talk sometime on TED. One of the principles she says is no entrepreneur has ever become successful by trying to maximize gain. Right? When Bill Gates started off or a Bezos started off, they didn't start off by saying, I want to be a billionaire and I want to be the world's richest. They ended up being the world's richest guy. But she says every entrepreneurial journey begins with the question, what is my affordable loss? What is the worst thing that can happen to me and can I live with it? Right? So when I started Meritrack, I didn't visualize Meritrack will be some 200, 300 crore valued entity in the next few years or whatever, right? The dream was there. I wanted it to be big. But I said, what is the worst thing that can happen? I said, I had 1 lakh in the bank. My expenses at almost 5,000 rupees a month because I was staying with my parents. They were feeding me. One Luna was there and I used to, 300 rupees of petrol was good enough. So when I looked at it, I said, okay, if this doesn't work in 2 years, I would have lost 1 lakh and I would have lost 2 years of my life. Is it worth it? I said, chalo, when you're 25 or 26, it doesn't matter. You will say, okay, no problem. I'll make that 1 lakh again sometime. So, well, that is an extrinsic motivation. Start with what is the worst thing that can happen and can I live with it? And that mindset is critical to get started.
So one more was that why is there always so much resistance in starting a startup, like finding an incubator in small cities or maybe family pressure? How to overcome these, especially with respect to resources?
No, that's a very valid question. Whoever has asked it, it's something that we need to solve. I with the rural enterprises that I run and game, we want to create an incubator and an ecosystem in every taluka of the country, right? Why should somebody living in Bangalore be at a greater disadvantage, or why is somebody living in Bidar be at a far more disadvantage than somebody living in Bangalore, right? So I think over the last 5-6 years, with Atal Innovation Mission or with the initiatives of MIT and several others, at the government level, there's been a lot of buzz and work around rural or tier 3, tier 4 town entrepreneurial ecosystems. I think it's going to go only improve. Whoever has asked the question, I think maybe that's the problem you can solve. Right? Is that a big problem? Absolutely, that's a huge problem. Is it a large opportunity? I think it's a fantastic opportunity.
So that I think was anonymous, but you get your answer. And on that note, I think thanks, Madan. We have a few pleasantries to make. I would also want to again thank Startup Karnataka. Mr. Jai Krishna is here. If you would like to say a few words. And then I have Dr. Milind in waiting. So if not, I'll first. So our Machine Intelligence and Robotics Center is the sponsor of our pitch deck competition. We've had many questions. And of course, TIE as an ecosystem partner, they're also offering us some memberships. Let's Grad is our partner in executing this project. And of course, all this would not have been possible without the help of the Ministry of Electronics and IT, who's also sponsoring who's also letting us incubate 2 startups and 2 entrepreneurs in residence. So all of you can apply later. Details will be posted. But this is a very unique scheme also, Madan, where the Ministry of Electronics directly, incubates 4 entrepreneurs in residence and 4 startup ideas, and also gives them some tax exemptions and lets the companies grow. And if someone is asking how we work with the government, this is how we work. And also with Startup Karnataka, they back us up on many of our initiatives, like one of our COEs. And on that note, on a small closing note, before I give it to Yogeswaran for some housekeeping rules, I would hand it over to Dr. Milind Gande, who's an industry veteran, been around for many years, and also from IIT, and you recently used to work at Sustain, leading a very large workforce of 2,000 plus engineers, managers, and now is dedicating his life to the world of startups, and is the Chief Program Officer of the Machine Intelligence and Robotics Center at IIIT Bangalore. Over to you, Dr. Milind.
Madan, first of all, thank you so much for a really, really inspiring talk, and to the cohort on this call. I just want to say, to my mind, there are sort of 3 core skills, right, that you need as an entrepreneur. And Madan actually exemplified all of those in today's talk. So, and he did speak about one of them. He spoke about passion, and passion is absolutely core. But the other 2 things that come to my mind are energy and people skills, right? So please note that nowhere here am I talking about technical skills. I'm not talking about intelligence, none of that, right? It's energy. You have to be able to communicate that energy. I think there was a question somewhere that, how do you build a team? I think energy and passion are a large part of that. And people skills are absolutely core. You have to, get investors. You have to convince customers, and you have to convince your team members. And I think, Madan, you gave us an excellent demonstration of all 3 of those. So thank you so much for that talk. And my congratulations, Karthik and YSN. I think, very, very strong participation. I'm sure we are going to see some very successful startups out of this cohort. So very excited. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Milind, for these kind words. I'm sure with your reaffirmation and you also being around now with your vast experience and with being from IIT Bombay, right? That is, I think, the home of many of the unicorns, the founders who come, and people like Madan, who always, back us in many initiatives And I mean, it was fabulous. Just one law before the closing note. I mean, he just once called me and said, look, you're on the COVID task force here in the city, and it's time to build, a nationwide COVID task force. And he has envisioned 10 million young warriors to combat COVID. And when I saw this, and when it came from Madan, I said, yes, we are game and we will help you with all of this. But friends, it's great to see that many of us have done many initiatives towards combating COVID. I mean, this is one of them. And, of course, all of you will be remembered maybe as, these are special times, these are difficult times. But, whatever you have done to help, the country bounce back in any way, please feel proud of yourselves, on a closing note. On that note, I think, Yogeswaran, any comments? And I will give it to our CEO for his closing remarks. Before that, Yogeswaran, over to you.
Perfect. So just to set the context for some of the students' questions. So the session, the whole boot camp is structured for the next 1 month. So if you have any questions in terms of what is the agenda for the session or what date the sessions are, please refer to this website link that has been posted here that gives you a lot of details on the boot camp. This is structured in a way such that from day one, you start working on different parts of your business and your idea. And by the end of the boot camp, you're able to go live with your idea and launch your own startup. So that's the whole agenda here. So one of the things at the end of every session, we will have breakout rooms where you will be able to discuss and interact with other participants and other students who are also going to be there with you. So shouldn't be a problem in terms of interacting and working with other students and discussing your ideas, getting feedback. And also, as a part of this whole bootcamp, you will have 2 opportunities to present your ideas. So one is you will be presenting your ideas to all your friends in this bootcamp. And second, towards the end, you will also be presenting it to the mentor board and advisory board at IIIT Bangalore, and along with a few select investors who might potentially look at investing in your venture. And there are also Startup Karnataka, and there are a lot of these grants from government that is available through IIIT Bangalore. In case you get selected for those programs, you will have an opportunity to raise funding too. So please be attentive in these sessions, and not just about picking up knowledge here, but be able to go back and work on whatever you're learning. That's the only suggestion or request from my side would be to whatever you learn in each of these sessions, please go back and apply them. So Samadhan, all the sessions will be scheduled between 4 and 6 p.m. So it's not every day, it is alternate days. The reason we have done that is so that you're able to go back and work. Say, for example, if Mr. Madan has given you some inputs, you can go back and work on them, and then you have one whole day to work on it. That's how we have tried to structure the whole thing.
We also have small assessments this time and a small certificate at the end, just to make it, little more interactive. And as I call it, all of you want to watch a movie in the IMAX way. IMAX says it's an immersive experience. So unless and until you all don't get your thinking caps on, you get your hands dirty, you will not, experience it. So this will be definitely an immersive experience, right?
Absolutely, Mr. Karthik.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
And of course, silently behind the background, we have Mr. Manoj from our team, our design specialist and a program manager. I would like to thank him because to put all of this together, there is a lot of technology, a lot of designs, a lot of work behind. Relentlessly, I think the last 2 weeks he has been working on it. My colleague Manoj, I know you can show your face for some time, I think. Thank you very much, Manoj, for being there, being in the background and doing everything for us from behind the scenes. Like, Madan always says, I picked this up from him. So if there is a movie shot or if there is a product built, there might be 100 people are working behind, but there are a couple of guys who go in front, right? So that's very important, my friends. One of the things that, we have learned in the background. On that note, over to you, YSN, for any closing remarks.
Right. Thanks, Karthik. Well, we started off at around 4:05 or so. It's around 5:26 now, and it has been absolutely enthralling 1.5 hours almost. As I said earlier, a quick thing. I mean, I am almost 58 years old now, right? And I come with around 35 years of experience of having worked with some of the biggest and the best corporates Microsoft, was head of communications earlier. I was HSBC, worked in India and China. I've been with Deloitte, been there, done that to a large extent. But what keeps me going is this constant urge to keep on learning something new. For me, that's what keeps me going every day. Every day when I wake up in the morning, I just tell myself or ask myself, what am I going to learn something new? That's what keeps me going. And I'm very excited about being a part of the Innovation Center. And I've got a great team working with me. So Karthik and Manoj have really worked very, very hard over the last 3 months planning for this boot camp. And we really hope that you will be able to make good use of it. A lot of effort, a lot of planning has gone behind it. So thank you very much, Yogeshwaran and team also for putting this together. I have a lot of support. And thank you specifically to Madan. It was a very, very interesting talk. What you really said, and if I look back at it and try to resonate it very strongly with me, because none of it is really rocket science. It's more of one's own experiences. I keep on telling my team that today we are living in a world of where we talk about storytelling as an art. And that's what you greatly demonstrated today, by really narrating your own experiences and how it has shaped your own life. At the end of the day, that's what I keep on telling my team members also. Life is all about choices that we make. It's not about a good choice or a bad choice. It's just about a choice, as simple as that. So if all you see around, about 120 attendees now, so we have around 150 close to that. What I can just say is that just step into it. Don't really think of the outcomes. Look at what you can learn in the next 30 days time. Be like a sponge, absorb as much as you can. And we really hope that you derive a benefit from the time spent. So Godspeed and good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And special thanks again to Madan for being here, being motivating everyone. I know you people must read up about a couple of the initiatives he does. I'm always awed. Be it the Yuva or be it being part of GAME, you guys just must Google it. The kind of people that are involved in it and what Madan has thought for the world of entrepreneurship is actually mind-blowing. And we thought he is one of the most amazing folks around. And like you said, few of the points on the networking front, TIE is an amazing platform. They also offer student memberships and it's worldwide. So you guys can write to us for that. And of course, like you said, whenever the world opens up, be shameless, go talk to people, ask questions. And if anyone puts you down, never let anyone put you down. On that one ideal, Madan, as a closing last few lines before we say bye, I would like you to leave everyone with one last message.
I think I've said enough, but only thing I keep thinking of is that entrepreneurship is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So one of my other favorite movies, and I will say that as a message, Lage Raho Munna Bhai. Just be at it. It'll happen.
Thank you.
So wish you all the very best and happy to be of any help, any support in this journey. I want to see all 150 of this gang going on to become super successful unicorns, not just in terms of billionaires, but can you create 1 billion smiles around the world in you? I think that's my definition of a unicorn. So happy smiles, everybody.
Thank you very much. And we will see all of you on the 17th at 4 p.m. for the next session. On that note, thank you very much, Madan, once again. And thanks for being there.
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right. All the best, everyone. Take care.
Yes.